Jupiter is such an important planet. As I've mentioned, it's the goal we have. It's that goal of our greatest fulfillment. But what's really important to remember is that Jupiter is also causing the sun to move around the Barycenter. So the sun is the beginning, and Jupiter's having an influence over the beginning. It's moving the sun, which is to say, it's having an influence over the beginning. So not only is Jupiter what we're all looking for, the joy-giving wisdom, and the love that accompanies that, it's also initiating and sparking and making the sun happen, okay? Or giving, some momentum, let's say, to the sun. It is directly impacting the sun. So it's not like Jupiter only comes into importance at the end game. It doesn't. It's very important to get you started in the first place, okay? Because as we've talked about, the sun is your life force, the intelligence within you, the life within you that knows what you're here for. And Jupiter has an influence of bringing that out. And the way it does that is through Indra. Indra is the deity of Jupiter. Indra is the god of lightning and thunder of the atmosphere. And he has a Vajra, a lightning bolt. He's kind of like Thor. He's identical to the Norse idea of Thor. Okay? So, we have this saying, lightning only strikes once. Okay? And that's what Jupiter's job is. Jupiter goes, lightning is striking. What does that mean? You get a clear vision in the dark night. Okay? Energy wants to go somewhere. There's energy that wants to surge from heaven to earth. That's what the lightning is symbolizing. Okay? And, it's even more than that. That's not really the real way to look at it. The real way to look at it is that energy is flowing from you upward. It's your spirit trying to raise up is the spark, the lightning of Jupiter. Okay? So, one of the most important things about Jupiter is that starting point of all you following your spark. When you get that impulse to do something, when you get that impulse to do something good, are you following it or are you not? Good habit Jupiter, when it gets that spark of inspiration, that spark to do something good, that spark to be nice, the spark to be giving, whatever, it does it. Okay? Are you in the habit of following that spark? A bad habit Jupiter is not. It says, well, as soon as I get this done, well, that's too late because lightning only strikes once in the same place. You got to follow that spark when you have it. It's really related to the creativity. Jupiter is such a creative planet. It is the spark of creativity. Why? Because Jupiter's children, the biggest creations anyone can do as a child, right? And so that lets us know the creative power of Jupiter. And you'll see people with strong Jupiters, how creative they are. How they're full of ideas, they're full of sparks, okay? So you're in the habit of following those sparks. See, the thing is, if you're in the habit of following those sparks, the sparks keep coming. And then you're living in this glorious lightning storm of inspiration and sparks in your life. But if you're not in the habit of following your sparks, you don't follow that spark, and so you never get to the beautiful lightning storm. Okay? Because it's really about following the spark. If you follow the spark, where do you get to? Where there's more sparks. If you're in the habit of not following the sparks, where do you get to? Where there's less, and there's less, and there's less sparks. Okay? So, that's the very importance of the beginning part. Are you following that inner inspiration that when it comes, you just do it? Or is there always another reason not to do it? It's not only inspiration to create something, because at the end of the day, we're all creative. We're all meant to be here to create a kingdom, to create something. God is a creative spirit. We're made in the image of God. We're here to create our lives, dynamically create them through inspiration, being the guiding and leading force. Okay? So if we're in the habit of that, great. We're being creative. And our life is being transformed as a result. You want to change your life, that means you want to create a different life, a more inspired and joyful life. And the way to get there is if you get in the habit of following your spark. Okay? And it's also, as I was saying, the goodness. Are we following our goodness? Jupiter's just sheer goodness. Meaning, I'm just good because I'm good. I don't need anything back. I'm not giving you $100 so that you give me $110 next month and I make 10%. I'm just giving you $100 because I can, and it's just a good instinct in me and I'm doing it. And I don't need it back. That's Jupiter. Think of all the times that you have this impulse to do good, to be nice, to be charitable, to be giving, right? And that impulse is going to come out. And one or two things will happen. One or three things. One thing is it'll just come out without a thought and you'll follow through on it. Okay? Another way is that the good instinct will come out and you'll think, gosh, this person needs $100. I've got $100 in my wallet. If I give it to them, gosh, I kind of might, I'm not sure, but I might need that $100 later this week. So I better not. And then you don't do it. Okay? There's always these reasons to not follow our good instinct. Are you in the habit of following those reasons? Or are you in the habit of following your good instincts? If you follow your good instincts, you end up getting more in return. And then there's the middle ground of, okay, you get the good instinct to do something, to give that $100, and you go, gosh, I might need this $100 by the end of the week, and I don't know if I'll be able to get more, but I'm just going to do it. And you work through it and you do it anyway. Okay? And then something happens that, wow, everything works out that you got $100, your week works out beautifully, and you're like, wow, things worked really good. And from experience, you realize that following through on our good instincts is really the shortest path to prosperity. Okay? It really, really is. So we're in the habit of following that goodness. If we follow the goodness that's coming out of us, we're walking towards goodness in our lives. Okay? We're going to end up in a better place if we follow that inspired path of goodness. Okay? But there's 101 reasons why we could think not to do it. Are we in the habit of following those reasons? Okay? All right. So that's the first part of it, of the Jupiter. Okay? Now, Jupiter is as far as the innate part of ourself. There's what I call the self aspects, the part of the planets that, the part of you indicated by a planet. Jupiter is the joy-giving wisdom. Okay? Now think of that. This is a part of you. These self aspects are all part of you. You have an Atma, you have a Manas, you have Virya, Venus, and so on. You have a strength of character, which is Mars. Then we get to Jupiter and we can say joy-giving wisdom, like, oh, I got to go get that. No, you don't. It's a part of you. All these self-aspects are the part of you that's there if you have that planet in your chart. Okay? So Jupiter is the joy-giving wisdom. Are you in the habit of connecting to your joy-giving wisdom? Or are you in the habit of neglecting it? It really comes down to that. Which means, are you in the habit of saying, what can I do to be joyful? Or are you in the habit of saying, I'll be joyful when, or I'm not joyful because this is not here? You see? Healthy Jupiter understands, a good habitual Jupiter knows that I have the joy within myself for my happiness, and I can find happiness wherever I am. Okay? Bad habit Jupiter is thinking, I need something out there that's going to give me joy. Okay? My life is meaningless and joyless without that outside thing. And that outside thing, when it's men, is almost always money. And the outside thing, if you're female, is almost always a man who wants money. See how that won't work? You know, different genders don't even want the same thing as far as what is going to make them feel happy that they can get from outside. Not most of the time. That's why the number one reason astrologers get pestered by men is because the men want to figure out how to have more money, and the women want to figure out how to have a better relationship. And it all starts by following your Jupiter. Get in the habit of using your Jupiter. If ladies want to have a better relationship, they need to find their own joy more. Not the outer joy, but their inner joy. If men want to have more money so they can do more good things in the world, then they need to start by doing more good things in the world they're in now. And not saying, when I have money, I'll do this. It's like, no, follow your good instincts now. That's the path to prosperity, okay, to the wealth of Jupiter. So simply, are we in the habit of following our joy-giving wisdom, our joy, or are we in the habit of waiting for it, longing for it, begging for it? Okay? It's part of ourselves. Okay? It's right inside of you. It can emerge at any time. And it emerges when you're in the habit of following your inspirations, that spark within you that's saying, jump on this, create this, work with this, be this. Are you following that or not? Okay. The dhatu, the physical constituent of Jupiter, is the vasa, or the fat. Okay? Fat's great. It's your resources. It's your reserves. It's the extra. So Jupiter really represents the extra. Have you cultivated extra in your life? Okay? What that really means is, are you in the habit of carrying extra joy, extra happiness around with you? So when there's someone in need, you can be there for them? Or are you lean and starved and you have no extra joy? So when someone needs you, you've got no joy to give back to them. Okay? So, are you in the habit of cultivating your fat, the extra? Do you have the extra joy that people can lean on you and you don't fall over? Jupiter has to do with mass, size. Literally, can people lean on you for a little bit without you falling over? If you have the extra joy, if you've cultivated joy, not like extra as in unusually amount, but if you have the fat that we're meant to have, the extra bit of happiness to help us get through this storm and this shit and everything, that's the fat. See, it's not, the idea of Jupiter being fat is not that, you're hoarding everything and you're ill from it. The idea is you have the extra to get through the hard times. You have the extra so you can share. So you have the extra happiness that when you go through a tough time, you can get through it on your own, instead of begging and needing help, okay? You've got the extra joy and, and feeling goodness in your heart, and even the extra love in your heart, that when someone comes, they don't feel like a burden, that you can actually let them lean on you a little bit. Okay, so you can share that extra. The same way that if you had a couple extra, extra food in your house during impoverished times, you have enough to get through, and you can loan some to your neighbor too. That's the idea of the fat of Jupiter, is that we're meant to have an extra amount to get through the hard times. Life isn't supposed to be this lean thing. It's supposed to be fat enough that when the season changes and the next food variety that you can eat isn't available, you can get through 3 weeks not eating anything and not get sick and not die and just have more time to do other things besides chewing. Okay? So, have you followed the habits that allow you to have that extra? What are those habits? They're the Jupiter habits. Following your good instincts, following your inspirations, having your joy, having the success that comes from that. And Jupiter is a planet of wealth. If we follow our inspirations, that's where we're going to have our greatest wealth. We don't find our greatest wealth doing anything else. We all have a wealth potential. Okay, this is the most you're going to make. And yeah, maybe someone else has the most they can make is up here. But we all have our wealth potential. But do we all reach that potential? We only reach that potential to the degree that we follow Jupiter. We follow the inspirations. We follow our goodness. And that means we follow the charity in our hearts and all that good stuff. Okay? The taste of Jupiter is sweet. Sweet is what our body needs. Okay? Because our cells need sugar, right? So sweet taste is what our bodies need to be energized and to be full of life, okay? Now, compare this to Venus. Venus has the sour taste. Sour is stimulating, okay? Sour gets your system going. But the taste that satisfies your system, that says, yeah, that's what I need, is the sweet taste. That's why people, after they eat all the junk they eat, they crave desserts. They want something sweet. And they've eaten so much weird junk that then they want to have a cookie or a piece of cake, something that's unusually sweet, because their body wants them to get back into a balance. That's why desserts are so popular, because people were naturally attuned to want to have a sweet taste. So, and sweet taste is the most nourishing taste. It's the taste we can eat the most without getting ill. And by sweet taste, I don't mean sugar, I mean naturally occurring sweet foods, okay, which are basically fruits. So, symbolically, the sweet taste of Jupiter is, are you in the habit of following what's sweet in your life? Are you in the habit of doing what's sweet, what's nourishing, what's sweet, which doesn't hurt you, which feels good? Or in the habit of doing something else? Yes, we can be in the habit of doing what hurts. Okay, the idea of Jupiter is, are you in the habit of choosing what is nourishing, what puts the fat on, what gives you an abundance of good feelings? Or in the habit of doing things where you're always behind, okay, where you're basically not getting enough nourishment that you need. All right? Jupiter has ramifications really across the board. You'll see it target so many different areas. It is the thing that will be the most nourishing to us. Sweet taste arouses our body, excites us in ways that other tastes don't. That's why sugar makes kids so hyper and stuff. And again, white sugar is overly sweet. It's an unnatural product. But as an example, you can say it just charges our whole systems up. Well, that's the idea of Jupiter, to really be lit up and to have our lives lit up. Okay? And it's the sweet taste that's the most energizing. Okay? The sour taste is stimulating, but the sweet taste is what's truly energizing, because our bodies burn sugar at the end of the day. So, at the end of it all, as the sixth planet in our chain here that we're talking about, it's the greatest. Jupiter, the sweet taste, represents the greatest fulfillment that we can have, the best feeling we can have. All right? And that ultimately is a feeling of being ourselves, really living as ourselves. Okay, where we're saying, yes, this is really my creative self shining. Yes, I've discovered my purpose. Jupiter is a sign of purpose, right? Okay? It's what we're here to do. It's where we understand our purpose clearly and we realize it. Now, the purpose is all fueled by the power of the sun, the light of the sun. But that sun is fueling everything and everything. It's the ocean. And then each wave has its purpose. And, that wave is Jupiter. Okay? And it's connected to the sun. They work together. And like I mentioned, Jupiter is got a closer composition to a star than it does a planet. And it actually does emit some of its own light. So it really is where our individual self can shine, that spark of divinity within it. But it happens through following our inspiration and creative faculties. Okay? It really comes down to we're in the habit of that or not. The bodily power of Jupiter's generation, and that power is specifically located in the sexual organs to allow us to generate children. So sexual energy is creative energy. They're the same thing. How are you in the habit of using your generative energy? Are you in the habit of using your generative energy in a way that progresses your life, that leads you to a better life? Or are you in the habit of losing it? Okay? A lot of people waste their generative energy through excess sexuality instead of not putting enough generative energy, enough creative energy into their lives so that their lives go forward. Okay? It's really interesting to watch people, especially men, who so often, just get to this phase where all that matters is having sex. And I've seen lots of men that all that mattered for 20, 30 years was having sex. And until they hit their 40s, that's all that mattered. Then at 40s, they're like, geez, I guess I should start thinking about getting a better job now. And, because they really haven't done anything with their lives, They haven't been successful. They haven't done anything good on the planet. They've just been using their generative energy for fun. So again, that's the idea that goodness, sweetness, things that feel good, I have to find on the outside in the shape of having sex, versus things that can come out of me to make my world more beautiful and to make the world more beautiful. And that's what Jupiter really is. It's your goodness. Let's really think of what good means. What does good mean? Does good mean you read the Bible and follow it, versus bad meaning you do the opposite? No. It simply means, like in casual conversation, we say, you're a good astrologer. You're a good athlete. You're a good cook. You know, there's just things we're good at. And that's what Jupiter really just is. It's what we're good at. You can look at Jupiter so simply. What are you good at? And are you in the habit of doing what you're good at? Or are you in the habit of doing what you're not good at? See, the beautiful thing is, everybody's good at something. But not everyone finds what they're good at. Okay? You have to follow your inspiration to find out what you're good at. But a lot of people are in the habit of that, and they never find out what they're good at. So, one thing I wrote down here, what are you good at? Are you in the habit of that or not? Are you in the habit of doing what you're good at? You're not going to be successful. You're not going to have money on what you're not good at. And what you're good at always comes with an inspiration. You're not going to be good at something that you feel dead over. Because to be good at something, your creative energy has to be behind it. Your full force of your generative energy has to be behind it. It has to be as exciting to you as having sex. Otherwise, you're not gonna find your way. Really, the thing that you're good at has to be exciting to you as having sex. Think about that. So you're sitting there, you have a choice between doing that and having sex, and you're like, that's a tough decision. It should be, okay? Because there's the equal level of joy that can be derived from doing that good thing that you are, okay? You know, there's a saying, it's attributed to Einstein, but he never said it. And it says, if you're a fish trying to climb a tree, you'll never think you're good at anything. All right? And it really comes down to that. Are you a monkey climbing a tree, or are you a fish trying to climb a tree? Are you doing what you're good at, or are you trying to be something and do something that isn't you, and therefore you're not good at? So many people do. I mean, I get clients that tell me, yeah, you know, this is what I have to do. This is what my culture considers a successful person. And so I used to be this way, but now I'm this way, and I'm 40 years old now, and I have no success. My job sucks. I'm sick. It's like, well, yeah, you've been doing what you thought your society required of you, what the peer pressure said a successful person is, instead of doing what you're good at and becoming a successful person. Okay? So are you a good person at something? It's not that you're a good person morally. I don't even give a shit about that right now. Are you a good person at something? You're going to be loved for what you're good at, right? Who's going to love you for what you suck at? Who's going to love you for what you're not even interested in? You know? If you're doing something with someone because you want to spend time with them and you want them to love you and you're not even interested in it, you know, where's that goodness that's coming through you that they're going to fall in love with? It's not there. You're going to be loved for what you're good at. You're going to feel loved for what you're enthusiastic about. You're going to be loved and have success and get wealth for what excites you, what turns you on. Okay? Are you following that or not? That's a good habit, Jupiter, versus a bad habit, Jupiter. Okay? And one of the common things that happen, people say, oh, no, I know this is really my passion. This is really what turns my crank, what I really want to do. But first I got to do this, and then I got to do this, and then when I have the money or someone will maybe sponsor me, I can do it. Fuck all that shit. You do it, just do it. It is, just do it. There's no excuse for not being creative. There's no excuse for not doing what you're good at. There's always a way. But people who are in the bad habit will find a reason why there's no way. Well, I want to dance, but I have to go to this studio. No, you don't. All you need is a place that's 10 square feet, 10 by 10 or larger, to move in. That's all you need. You don't need anything else. Are you going to do it or not? I see so many people come up with all the reasons they're not going to follow their passion. And it doesn't matter what carpet you roll out in front of them, they'll find a reason not to do it. You know, what support they get, how much Venuses are there saying, you can do this. They don't. They always can find an excuse. Because they're in the habit of not following what's good in them, to not follow their inspirations. They're waiting for the joy to come from the outside. It doesn't. Jupiter is not an outside planet. Venus is an outside planet. You can get your Venus things. You know, you can get things in your life that stimulate you, that refresh you, like lemonade that refreshes you, you know, and makes you more ready to go out into the world. You can have those things. But your greatest joy, the sweetness of sugar, the joy of sweet, you know, symbolized by Jupiter, the energizing, yes, this is what I've been wanting to experience, is something that's your own. It's in you. It has nothing to do with out there. But ironically, it's what attracts more prosperity and more success and more love from out there. I mean, really think about it. Who do you love? Who are the people you adore? Who are the people you worship as celebrities? Well, you always say, oh, they're so good at that. Oh, he's a great guitar player. Such a good guitar player. He's a good singer. He's such a good actor. I mean, tell me one person you love that you say, I love this person because they're the shittiest actor ever. You know, we don't love shitty people. We don't love people doing shitty things. All right, we love people who shine, who are doing something well, doing something good. Jupiter's so basic. We think of it as being so divine, but there's just very basic quality to Jupiter. Goodness runs through us in so many ways. Yes, it's the goodness in our heart, the goodness, the care, the goodness, the compassion. But it's also, your purpose is something you're good at. Your purpose is not something you can't hardly do. Okay? But a lot of people choose that as their purpose. There's so many traumas and reasons why a person chooses to do something that's not good. Chooses to spend time with people who they don't feel alive with. You know? It's a bad habit. And we'll talk about those details more when we get into the different avashtas of Jupiter. Okay? And at the end of the day, you measure your life. Is it a good life or not? Is it a life that you feel satisfied? Like a meal. You have a meal and there's something missing. Don't you hate that feeling? It's like, I'm not really hungry, but something's missing. Don't you hate that feeling? Versus the meal that, perfect, you know? That's what we want our days to be like. That's why they have dessert, because we need this sweet, energizing, subtle thing in our life, okay? But you don't want to have it as dessert. That's an extreme because of the imbalance, okay? You want to have it as a regular, natural part of yourself, because it is a natural part of yourself. It's not an excessive thing that comes from the outside like chocolate sweet cake, okay, at the end of the meal. It's a natural joy that you have because you're doing what makes you feel good. You do actions that make you feel good. One of the most beautiful things about Jupiter is that lightning strikes once, like I said. In any place, the lightning goes, right? That's Jupiter says, I want to do this. I'm going to do this. And it doesn't think, I'm going to do this because. Jupiter never attaches a because to it. It just says, this is what I'm going to do. Because this is me. This is what's coming out of me. This is what I'm inspired to do. And that makes Jupiter the perfect karma yogi. Okay, karma yoga is that the human right is towards activity, not the fruits of our actions. All those planets, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, they're focused on the fruit of their actions. They're supposed to be, okay? Because they have to get to the next step. But Jupiter has nowhere to go. Jupiter just has to act as himself. The joy, the value, the reward comes from acting as ourselves, from following the inspired thing that we are. That creates a joy within ourselves that's better than all these external things. It's like, what, you want to have sex with me? I'm busy following my inspiration. Come back when I'm done, you know? versus, wow, I'm not going to do anything until I get a blowjob, you know? It's like some people live like that. I don't even want to get out of bed unless there's a girl kneeling at the end of the bed, you know? These are two extreme ways of living. There's the excited, healthy extreme way of, if you're following your inspirations, you don't care about the result because the action is the result, the joy of the action, the flow of that inspired energy through your consciousness and through your body. That's the reward. The reward's in the action. And so only by having a good habit Jupiter can you be a successful karma yogi. Okay? When you're karma yoga, you get no karma for anything you do. Why? Because you're not attached to the actions. So the minute you get attached to the fruits of the actions, your consciousness has latched onto those fruits, and it's going to have those fruits if it has to come back 10 lifetimes to get those damn fruits. Okay? But if you're just doing it because it's you, it's a natural expression of you, the joy is in the moment, the reward is in the moment, and you're not thinking about what you're going to get from it. I'm just doing this because this is what I love to do, to say simply. And I don't care if I get paid, I don't care if people like me. Hey, leave me alone, guys. Too many people like me, and I want to do more of what I want to do. That's a nice Jupiter. Okay? A bad Jupiter is, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. People will like me, I'll have money, it'll be great. Hey, why won't anyone show up at my house? Hey, why doesn't anyone call me? It doesn't work that way. If you want attention, you're screwed. You know, I can't even say if you want attention, success, and wealth, you know, this is what you need to do. Because it won't work if you're doing it for those things. If you want the joy of yourself, you have to follow that joy, which comes as what you're good at and what you're inspired to do. Are you in the habit of that or not? Unfortunately, a lot of people are told, no. They're growing up as a kid, they have this inspiration to do something, and they're said, no, you have to do this instead. This is what matters. You have to focus on your degree that you're going to get in 12 years because you're 6 now. It's like, I was very, very fortunate. I was a very neglected kid. Other than food, I mean, I got fed like primo, you know. But other than that, I was just this neglected kid, you know. My parents didn't even know what I was doing half the time. So I was just able to follow my inspirations. I didn't have parents that were sitting there saying, oh, you need to do this and you need to have good grades. My dad thought all those things, but he figured my mom would take care of that part. But luckily, she didn't take care of that part. Okay? And so I just had all this space, which is ether, the element, one of the elements associated with Jupiter, to explore my creativity. And I was always inspired to do this, inspired to this. I was always busy and being creative. And it was so nice to grow up in a world where there wasn't this, you have to do this instead. I rarely had, you have to do this instead. And then I played the game. I went to school, I cranked out my homework as fast as I could. I didn't care about my grades. I said, okay, assignment's done, I'm free, and I get to do what I want. Then I hear stories about some people who, wow, it's their life regulated. This is what's important. Oh, too bad you feel like exploring that. Too bad you're inspired about that. You know, too bad, that's not what's important. This is important, and that is important, and this is important. And so the kid gets in the habit of saying, of agreeing that this or that's important. And they don't even agree in that. They just can't wait to rebel. They get in the habit of agreeing that their inspiration, what wants to jump out of them and make their life and everyone's life around them better, is not important. And then they can't really embrace the bullshit that they were told was important. They're not in the habit of following what is truly important because it's inspired out of them. And so what do? How do you have success when you're cut off from the fake bullshit world that you were told was real but you know is not? But you're not in the habit of following your inspirations. At that point you're screwed. At that point you're dependent and you sit there and wait for someone to throw you a few coins of joy. Okay? It's a shitty way to live. But it's so easy to change. Inspiration's happening all the time. There's always a thunderstorm somewhere on Earth, right? jump on it. The minute it comes, do it. Whatever you're doing, drop it, follow that inspiration. If you're with a bunch of people and all of a sudden you've got this idea of short story, say, I'll be right back. Lock yourself in the bathroom, whip out your phone, and spend as much time there as you need to. Okay? Break away and follow your inspirations. You have to do it when it comes. Every author says, when you get an idea, write it down. Every songwriter does that. Every artist does that. You know, they're ready to embrace the creative, inspired spark when it shows up. Because they know they can't put it on hold. Because 3 hours later, 3 days later, it's like, what was that? No, it's not happening in your mind. It's not something you can just remember. It's not something your little brain cells are coming up with. It's an inspiration that literally came out of your soul, out of your real self. And you need to take it and run it and watch where it takes your mind. You know, it's not your mind taking it somewhere. Watch where it takes your mind. Your mind's on a ride. And if you miss the boat, you miss the boat. You can't just get it in your head and say, oh yeah, I had that idea. What was it? No. Doesn't work that way. Okay? So you have to be in the habit of embracing the lightning when it comes. And that's one reason I hate 3 meals a day and all that bullshit. Well, little Johnny, I know you just started writing that story, but it's 5 p.m. It's time for dinner. It's like, no, it's not. The most important time are the inspired times. Everything else can wait. You can feed your body anytime during the day. But you can only follow your inspiration when the spark is there. Okay? So everything else is secondary to this. Everything else is. Hell, you're having sex and halfway you get a song comes into your head. You can always have sex again. Alright? Stop. What doesn't care what you're doing. Follow your inspirations. Get in the habit of it. Whatever you're doing. Okay? You know, people who know me, sometimes I'm not like really paying attention to them, you know. I'll space out for a while because I'm piecing something together and I'll follow this little creative process through in my mind. And then I'm ready to reconnect because I'm in the habit, I've always been in the habit of following whatever's coming through me as a priority. You know, it's really what I attribute any prosperity, any success, the fact that anyone even wants to talk to me to the fact that I've got a nice Jupiter, and I've always just followed my inspirations, you know. Even sometimes I thought I couldn't. I really should do that. I really should make more money for the family, but I can't. You know, Jupiter's like, the habit was too strong to always follow Jupiter. And that's the funny thing about a good habit. It can be so good that even though your brain will say, you really, really should do this, you're like, can't, I'm not going to do it, you know. So, it's the power of habit, and it's a beautiful thing when you learn the avashtas of your good habit planets and how they're always getting you through. There's literally this flow of energy. It's like a river of energy trying to flow through all of our planets. Flow from the sun, experience the Jupiter, and get to the dead end of Saturn, you know. And this flow is literally like this river. And when you hit a nice Lajitanya Avashta planet, the river is just so soft and serene and beautiful and flows at the perfect pitch. You're inner tubing in that river and it's perfect. You're like, oh, I want to stay here forever. It just works. And without even thinking about it, you're drifting down the river. And then you get to your bad Avashta planet. And wow, it's like all of a sudden there's these giant boulders in the river and you cannot even go down the river anymore. You have to get out of the river, take your boat, walk 30 miles around those boulders, get in the river again. I mean, you have these huge obstacles to navigate. It is so hard. But you have to remember, it's all the flow of the river. So if you have a nice Lajitanya Avashta planet, it creates this flow of energy, of your life force, going in the right direction, that when it hits the obstacles, it can find a way through. Okay? So, every good Avashta you have is supporting the flow of your life to get past every bad Avashta planet you have. Okay? And we just need to work on where we get stuck so we can get unstuck more readily. But you want to remember there's this force of energy that's trying to get unstuck. It's not like you have to do all the work yourself. Every little part of yourself that is already working is going to give you momentum to get through that crux of your tough Lajitadi Avashta planet. So once you start opening that up, as you learn, when we learn the specific Avashtas, then there's all this energy already ready to flow. You know, that some of it's already trickling through. But you just need to open it up completely. Okay? One of the things I love about Jaime Sutras, he has a saying where he says that when Jupiter influences a situation, the ability, the gift that you have, comes from an authoritative source. Okay? And ultimately what that means, it comes from an authoritative source. What does that ultimately mean? The highest authority is your inner guidance system, which is connected to your inspiration too. So we do things with authority. It comes from a place of authority because it really comes from the deepest, most truthful part of yourself. And that's what's going to feel the best to do ultimately. Doing anything that doesn't come from that deepest truth of ourselves, we're always going to have somewhat of a difficult relationship with doing that thing. Okay? So I just like this little idea from Jaime. Jupiter helps things come from an authoritative source, which ultimately means from our higher self. And we meet our higher self as teachers, as gurus, as Jupiters that confirm things for us and say yes. Like every once in a while, it's funny, it happens a lot these days, you know, I'll meet someone and I'll know they have the ability to really be a good reader, to help people or to give insight somehow, you know. And so I'll make a little more effort to connect with these people, you know. And I oftentimes find these people are a little shy and nervous about, like, okay, really going somewhere with astrology. There's just part of them that doesn't believe they can do that. Why? Because we're in a bad habit of not believing we can be good at anything, especially what we really love. And I have this, you know, I'm pretty good at picking out these people lots of times, you know. And I'll give them a little more support, a little more encouragement. And wow, as soon as they get that, it's like that little bit of encouragement from someone who's doing it, what they have a good capacity to do, which they can be really good at, goes such a long way. Okay? But I remember when I first started, you know, involved with astrology, and of course I thought everyone should do astrology, you know. I remember I would try to just help everyone with being an astrologer, you know. And I found that it didn't work. It was actually unpleasant for people who that wasn't their purpose. They didn't have that as a good thing naturally. I was just like, yeah, definitely learn astrology, you know. Now I don't do that. Now I get a feeling about a person. Yeah, I know this person, there's something about them that I know astrology will work for them. It's a good thing for them. And I only try to encourage those people now. Okay? Because getting that encouragement from an authority figure, a Jupiter figure, a person who has weight in your field or the field that you're interested in, helps so much. So we do get that validation from the outside. It's really funny, I got this validation really indirectly when I had my first astrology reading. After that reading, she invited me to her house and then she taught me how to read a horoscope. She never said anything. But actions speak louder than words. She actually taught me how to calculate a horoscope, gave me tables of houses, planetary ephemerids, and everything I needed to start calculating horoscopes. And that was a huge, like, authority saying, all right. And she never said I was going to be an astrologer, I could be a good astrologer. She just, for some reason, taught me how to calculate a chart. And so I always remember that. And there was times when I was like, in my early days, like, wow, I really wonder why she did that, because this is really working for me. But it was a huge sort of support in the back of my mind that I got this validation. So, yes, we do need the authority saying, yeah, you can really do this. But we attract it if we have it. You don't have to go begging for it. The authorities come and validate us because we have it, you know. But you can't go beg for it. Oh, I hate people who beg me for it. oh, I just hate it, and it's usually if you have to ask, answers no. I find that people who beg for it, who want to be told, yes, you can be a good astrologer, who are asking for it, I can't think of one of those people who did anything with astrology. But the people who I saw who liked it, and I said, I think that I can see that I can see, and I've even told people who've taken my classes, you're going to do astrology very differently than me. So as you take my courses, don't try to follow exactly how I'm doing, but you can be a very good reader. Just follow your instincts. Learn this bullshit and follow your instincts and watch what happens. And then 6 months later, they're telling me this weird thing they're doing, and they tell me and they're showing me the result of it, and I'm like, nothing they learned from me. It's just something they developed within themselves because it was what they're good at. They knew what they were good at. They found a way to use astrology or cards that they were good at. And it was different than my way. But me telling them, being the authority that says, yes, you have the authority to do this, helped them find that gift within themselves. But again, it all came free. None of these people asked for it or begged for it. It comes freely. It's like we have the saying, when the student's ready, the teacher appears. It's not when the student's ready, he runs around like mad looking for the teacher and trying to get validation. No. When you're ready, when you found your inspiration, something will come and help you say, yeah, you can be good at this. And not just respect to astrology, with anything. Someone will show up and say, guess what? You're good at this. It's just how it works. It's, you get validated by the authoritative source the minute you start getting on the train of what you're good at. And what's so important about Jupiter, everything we want in life is resolved once we live out our Jupiters, once we're living our purpose and being the best version of ourselves, being a good version of ourselves, doing what we're good at. Because that's what people pay for. People don't pay you for what you're shitty at. Not the highest dollar anyway. People don't like you the most for what you're shitty at. We're liked. People want to connect to us. People want to share with us. People want to give to us because of what we're good at. And that only comes if we follow what's good within us. But following it because it's there. Not because we want those things. Not because we want wealth. Not because we want attention. Not because we want people to want to like us. If we're doing it for any of those reasons, it's just a whole nother pathology. It's a whole nother dead-end, disappointing street. Okay? Because it's not coming from a source of your joy. It's not you sharing your joy. Ultimately, people want to share joy. If you're sharing your joy, people want to be around you because they want to connect to that experience of joy being shared. Okay? So if it's not coming from your joy, if it's not coming as your inspiration, it's not going to be the right sharing. And then at the end, some travesty will always happen. Okay? Jupiter's one of the counselors. He's the spiritual counselor. He's the counselor that sees you and understands you. Versus Venus is the counselor who sees the world and understands the world. Okay? And how people operate in the world. And how people operate in worldly situations, including love. But Jupiter, the counselor, sees you. It sees your soul. It sees your essence. It sees the truth in you. And it helps you develop that. Okay? So Jupiter represents that part of you in an attempt to come out. It's part of you. It's nothing that's given to you. It's something that wants to emerge. Okay? Okay. Jupiter has an intelligence. Okay, it has the intelligence of knowing the Vedas and the Vedangas. What are the Vedas? Veda is the truth. Jupiter knows the truth of things. All right? And then Jamie says, Jupiter, he knows the truth, but he doesn't speak much. Because when it really comes down to the truth, there's not so much to say. Sure, we can think of 101 reasons to explain something. The whys and the why nots, and the mind can write lengthy books about every little action we ever took. I mean, if you wanted to, you can explain every little event in your life with a full 300-page book, you know. You can talk that much about everything you do, right? But Jupiter, he knows the truth. He knows the truth. And there's not much to say about that. The truth is, you're following your higher self, and your life is working because of that. So when someone says this lengthy explanation of how something worked out, Jupiter just smiles to himself and he goes, you followed your inspiration. Of course it worked out. You know, he knows why. You know, or the reality is, the truth is, you didn't follow your inner voice. You didn't follow your inner intelligence. You followed the bullshit in your mind. You followed other people's plans for you. You followed the pains that were inflicted upon you as a child. So how could your life work? It's that simple at Jupiter. How can you write a novel about any of those? You followed your good or bad habits. Okay? And then, of course, there's the simplicity of the deeper truths that don't require much explanations. Okay? I don't know, like the Bible, I love the Bible. But the only thing I love is the first part of Genesis. To me, there's no point in reading anything else in the Bible except God is omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. To me, that is all I need to know from the Bible. That's the truth. You know, there's nothing else to discuss. All right? The rest is just a bad historical account of some people who died long ago. All right. Okay, one last thing. Jupiter's one of his names. He's commonly called Guru. But my favorite name for Jupiter is Jiva, which means life. Okay? He's also called Mantrika, which is on the most fundamental level, our first mantra is the mantra of the breath going in and out of your lungs. The sound of the breath, the cosmic sound of the breath coming in and out of your lungs. And therefore granting you life is the primal mantra it's the mantra our whole life is based on, our whole life is founded on. And Jupiter is the planet of mantras, of the fundamental sounds for why everything is. It is a sound, okay? And it relates to the music of the sun, which is an experience of sound, okay? So, Jupiter's Jiva, life. You want to be alive. Jupiter gives you the greatest feeling of aliveness. Sugar makes your cells feel alive, all right? Are you feeling alive? Or are you going to phases where you feel dead? Well, the better habits you have with the Jupiter, the more experiences you have of feeling alive. The more difficult habits you have revolving around Jupiter, the more you're feeling dead. And you're literally waiting for the world to give you life. It's not going to give you life. It can give you Venus. It can give you support. It can give you Mercury. It can give you opportunities to check out. It can give you Mars. It can give you conflicts that you have to resolve. Okay? It can even give you the sun, the knowingness that this is who I am and this is how I need to be. You know? But it's not going to make you feel alive. You know? Jupiter does that. And if you think that feeling alive is going to come from the outside, boy, are you going to be miserable. Not only that, you're going to be a nuisance too, because you're going to want the world to make you feel alive, which means you're going to want others to make you feel alive. Except, you know what? They can't make you feel alive. Okay? It's not possible to breathe life into somebody else, you know? Life is an experience that comes out of us, not an experience given to us. Feeling alive is a feeling that comes out of our souls, not something another soul puts into us. Okay? So once we get to the Jupiter place, we're very much in a place of self, of our most fulfilled self, our most alive self, and our most joyous self. It's better than Venus. It's better than Mercury. Jupiter's the great benefit, the nicest of the benefic planets. Okay? The planet more than any other planet that can get you through all the shit that comes your way. you know, because that inner joy, that feeling of life, the optimism that comes with that, the goodness of heart that comes with that, the capacity to truly love, not because you want something, because love is a manifestation of joy that we carry within us. That makes up for all the other deficits in life. But nothing else will make up for that deficit. Nothing else. Venus won't make up for it. Mercury, nothing else will make up for that deficit in life of Jupiter. It's the same way. Nothing makes up for not having sugar in your system, which is Jupiter. Your cells will die. What's the most important nutrient? Sugar, right? Yes, we need our vitamin C and da-da-da-da-da. And we don't talk about needing sugar as a nutrient because we have so much of it. But at the end of the day, our cells will cease functioning, cease activity if they don't get glucose, right? So, this is the joy of life, Jupiter. Are you in the habit of following it? Or are you in the habit of begging and waiting for it? You know? Or in the habit of, instead of following it, thinking there's this or that place to go to get it because you've been brainwashed. That, you know, having a corporate job in a big corporation is the goal of life, is where you'll find your purpose and you'll be good at it because your culture says it's great to work for Microsoft. You know, no, you won't find it there. Okay, you're going to find it in yourself. It's going to emerge out of yourself through a process of self-discovery. Okay, and ultimately, we can't avoid Jupiter. You know, it just depends. How are we going to experience your Jupiter? Are we going to experience it as joy? Or are we going to hit the wall because we didn't find our Jupiter on the outside and so we're dead? We're feeling dead. We feel lifeless and zonked. Okay? Jupiter's a heavy planet. It's the heaviest planet in our solar system. And it's the planet that carries the most weight. And what I mean by that, it has the most impact. It's all about mass. The heavier the body, the more influence it has. You know, Jupiter has so much mass, it's moving the sun. You know, Jupiter has that much power. So living our Jupiters is what we're here to do. When we live our Jupiter, we feel happy and satisfied and successful and right about our lives. We can live in peace then. If we don't have that joy of Jupiter, we don't get to have peace, we don't get to live in peace. And we want to get to the Jupiter, we want to realize the Jupiter because after Jupiter is Saturn. And that's the fact that whatever we have is going to end. You know, something that ends before satisfaction sucks. Okay? All right, we'll talk about that when we talk about Saturn next. Thank you.